All right, so my name is Tuluwalashe Adedipe, and I'm going to be talking about my company choice presentation. And the company I've decided to talk about under the fashion industry is Off-White. So, what is Off-White? Off-White is a luxury fashion brand that was started by the late Virgil Abloh, who is on the left side. And basically, Virgil's mission was to bring, streetwear into the luxury fashion world. Obviously, he was actually African. He was born from by two Ghanaian immigrants, but then he grew up in Chicago. And in Chicago, especially in the black community, streetwear is like a staple in the black community. It's like, almost like an identity of sorts for the black community. And Virgil wanted to kind of, bring that culture into the light of the modern fashion world. One interesting thing that Virgil really talked about, and one of his main visions was this idea of context. He always kind of pushed, or like always liked to push the boundaries of how you can read things, or what can be implied, or what can be inferred from certain things just by the context of what or the context of the environment, the context of the use of these things. And then that shows itself in the idea that he's trying to bring you know black streetwear into the luxury scene, because black streetwear is something that's seen as in the black community, and it's more like of a casual thing. It's not really on par with things like Calvin Klein, maybe Rick Owens, which are like names in the fashion industry. So but with that, but this idea of everything depends on the context, even taking these common streetwear apparel and switching the context of like saying, hey, now we're in the context of the luxury scene, then you can kind of see how even the idea of taking streetwear into the luxury scene kind of enforces his idea of context and love his things. And talking about Off-White in and also thinking about like the global industry and the global market, there's a quote from Virgil that says, when creativity melts together with global issues, I believe you can bring the world together. And this is kind of where the globalization and the marketing in terms of Off-White kind of really took hold, because he started to think about like the global impact, or like the global influence that this idea of context could have, in the scene. Taking, understanding and taking lessons from the lectures that we've had in class, we could talk about the international marketing of the Off-White brand. And we see that it's actually surpassed Gucci and Balenciaga, which are again big names in the fashion scene. And one thing that Virgil does really well is he uses controversy rather, in terms of marketing, and it's almost like free marketing, and it's a very interesting marketing strategy that he uses. And there's a lot of controversial opinions surrounding Off-White as a whole, but then because of this gets people talking about the brand. It gets people talking about the products, and then that is the advertising itself. That is how he markets internationally to all around the world. First of all, like on the right side here, I have, everything is in quotes, and it says it's ironic and it's the main recognizable design element with Off-White. So you might be wondering, all right, why are there quotation marks around everything? It's because, again, going back to his initial idea of like, context, he's saying, yes, this is a wallet. Everyone is going to tell you it's a wallet, but then you can decide what you want to do to it, like what you want to do with it. You have certain things where, like a wallet, you can put like different things in a wallet. Obviously, it's for money, but then it's like you can use it for different things, and that's all left to the user to interpret. So even sometimes in his shoes, it might say shoelace because that's what it is. It's a shoelace, right? That's what you're told it is. But then you could use it to tie your hair. You could use it for different things. So it's again just emphasizing, pushing forward this idea of context. Also, it says the brand has a youthful, folly, crude sense of pop weirdness, and it's like Virgil kind of talked about how right now on in the fashion industry, it's being kind of taken over by more youth people. So it's not too many of the older generation, but more of the youth generation. And because of that, us youth with our generation and our times, this idea of just like pop weirdness, or just like something that you haven't seen before, or just like something that doesn't necessarily have to have a meaning, but then it's just so interesting, and you just start thinking about it like there's no basis for it almost. And I think Off-White kind of plays off of this idea, because again, normal wallets that you'd see is blank, maybe like just a few pops of color here and there. But now here you have a wallet that has like these writings on it, and and it's not even like an excess amount of writings, but then it's not like a small amount of writings. It's almost like in the middle, and it's just like weird. But then that's one of the things that attracts, and it's also very polarizing. So you have a group of people that might love it, and there's a group of people that don't understand it at all. But then that's all part of his marketing strategy. Another thing that I kind of took notice of, and even going back to the lecture that we had in class, is like the idea of like social media, which is again a big advertising medium that Off-White had used, especially with the audience being more on the youth side of the markets. So these are the Nike Air Prestos that were designed by Virgil Abloh, and it says they were mentioned over 250,000 times on social media, right? Social media is almost like a wildfire. Like once something gets on social media, it spreads really quickly. And this was like one of the main things that kind of rocketed Virgil and Off White in the fashion scene. And again, kind of coupling with the whole like controversial approach to his ideals and his and the brand in general, that also gets people talking. And then there's obviously things get carried on social media, and then that's how the business is kind of marketed and like marketed out there. And the thing is, again, I mentioned how like there's a polarizing like polarizing idea. It's a very polarizing idea and polarizing brand. So some people love the idea and the message of like how things can be, like it depends on how you want to see things in context and all that. Some people, I personally actually really love the idea as well. But some people might be like, that's a cool idea, but I don't understand why you need to have all these writings on your shoes. And again, it gets people talking, gets the conversation going, which it does wonders for the marketing of Off-White. But now this also comes with some problems. And then again with social media, even going back to one of the lectures, how like there was a whole thing with like SeaWorld, and how they were treating the orcas, and like it was pushed using social media. So the tool that the company was using to get to advertise kind of also backfired in a way. And I'll talk about this. So basically, um Virgil kind of posted a picture of his design team that was in Italy, and there's no black people, it's all white people. And the internet went crazy over this. This one person says, um, you know, all of Off-White's directors are 100% white. All these things. Like there was like a lot of it, especially with the idea of Off-White being started taking inspiration from streetwear and the culture of the black community. And then now that it has garnered like this fame, this attention, and people are now seeing that, whoa, there's no black people on this team. So it's almost like the facade of black empowerment and all of that. It was almost like cut down, and basically social media was like dragging Virgil through the mud. And the last what's it called, quote that I have on the bottom left, I saved that for last. It says, Virgil makes clothes for super rich white kids. He uses black people as decorations for his products, and he isn't interested in actually doing this for black people. No wonder he doesn't hire them. So again, this is controversial. Now, this is a lot of bad press, right? But people are talking. And again, it's not as if Off-White has bad values. So they have good values, but this bad press is kind of like a misunderstanding, right? And that's how Virgil and his team handled the whole thing. Virgil ended up posting, more of his design team, because again, his design team is almost 136 people thereabout, big, and that picture only showed about maybe 10 to 15 people. So that's even like just like 10% of the whole team. So there's a whole 90% that wasn't in that picture, right? But again, with social media, which is the issue with social media, is a lot of things can be misconstrued. So social media misconstrued the whole thing. And the first quote is by Virgil himself, and he says, "My design team is diverse as the world is big. the video shown, which is the one that I showed in the previous slide, was an Off-White dinner party at the headquarters in the city of Milan in Italy. So this party was to celebrate the hard work of the local Italian team. So obviously that's why there wasn't black people there, because it was kind of celebrating the team in Italy, and then so Virgil and Off-White took the time to explain this. One of the PR representatives um, said the second quote, and he says, Virgil wishes to use this moment of being questioned to be a moment of reflection within the industry, to showcase the talent behind the design entities, and push to have a design community that represents the outside world. So this was like how Off-White decided to handle the solution. They didn't need to do anything crazy. All they needed to do was just show the world what was missing, the 90% that was missing in that picture. So they didn't need to do anything crazy. And the thing is, a lot of people with like again, other celebrities know Virgil, so there's people that could vouch for Virgil and everything. But then you can also look at this, like, even though this was kind of like a problem or an issue for Off-White, this also added to their marketing. It also added, because then people heard about this, saw this, and they're like, "Oh wow, this is very interesting," and then kind of going to Off-White that way. But as I said in the start of this, Off-White, the founder of Off-White, Virgil Abloh, unfortunately passed away, and learning all these concepts from the lectures in class, and kind of applying them to kind of understand Off-White as a business. I was I think that Off-White, from the research that I did, I think they are still. It's kind of like a middle ground. I feel like they're still on the road to kind of maintaining their relevance in the luxury fashion world. Um, the Off-White team said that they're going to try and fully embrace Virgil's creativity, and hopefully run Off-White as more of a legacy now. So I think it's I mean, there's really not much they can do. Again, Virgil was almost like the face of Off-White. Off-White, if you see Off-White, if you heard Off-White, it's Virgil. They go like hand in hand. So now that Virgil has passed away, what is going to be like the defining, face, or the defining whole idea around Off-White? Hearing them talk about legacy kind of reminded me about, like, Chadwick Boseman, the late Chadwick Boseman, with Black Panther, right? How it's almost like Black Panther 2 is like all about legacy, and like just with um upholding that legacy that someone has left behind, and kind of using legacy as, saying that, hey, we know we're not, like, we can't be this person, like, these are big shoes to fill, but we're going to do our best to make them proud. We're going to do our best to really amplify the work that they have done, and I think that's the way that Off-White, that's the road that Off-White is going to take looking into the future. I think it's a good direction, especially in terms of like sympathy, and like a sort of like ethos to try and connect to the audience a lot more, because everyone was deeply shocked and deeply shook by his passing. So it could be a very interesting way to kind of rally people to still kind of have some sort of relevance in the fashion industry. Thank you.